Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Rachel Cruze Show, and I am joined by the wonderful Matthew West.
Wonderful.
Yeah, how'd you like that?
That felt really good. I needed
title.
that today.
Okay, so for people that aren't familiar with you, tell us everything you do because he sings, which is actually...
I sing, yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you. Do you know, like, the one thing I don't have in life?
What?
That I know God is perfect, but it's like the one thing that I'm like, I think he may have forgotten to give me a music voice. I think I could kill it as an artist.
Well, have you ever tried?
Oh, mm-hmm.
And you just...
No, not
you sure you don't want to show us what you got?
Oh, no, I will not sing. I can't.
Come on.
I don't know pitch and tune, all that. I don't do any of that.
Well, the Bible talks about making a joyful noise. It doesn't say, as long as it's joyful...
It's a noise.
It could be a sound that somebody would enjoy.
So you do my dream. My dream that you travel and sing and do concerts and all of it. So
maybe one of these days we'll get you with a vocal coach and maybe we'll record a duet like Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers used to do or something.
And I'll just kind of harmonize, and then you can do stuff to the voice.
We can always fix things in the studio.
That's it.
So
fix it in post.
Yeah, we call it the Backstreet Boys treatment or something. No offense to the Backstreet Boys, but I love making music. Even more importantly than the singing, I am passionate about the songwriting because the songwriting is the storytelling. And growing up, I always took sort of the gift of being able to sing for granted. I think when people are telling you, hey, you're really good at this, it just kind of came a little easier to me. So I was more interested in sports and thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. But all along, God had put different people in my path that were affirming this gift that I had for music. It really wasn't until I began learning to play the guitar and then discovering that I could put my story into a song, that I could pour out my heart, and that would be the vehicle by which I would get to communicate to the world. That's when it clicked, and I got excited about that. And all these years later, I call Nashville home and have built a career writing songs. I write songs for other people as well. That's how I started my career.
Okay, I didn't realize
that. So I was rejected by all the labels for about 4 years. Just like Garth Brooks. So I'm in good company.
Just like a lot of people. I feel like that's a lot of people's story. Yeah.
And I built a career behind the scenes. And they came around and said, you're a good songwriter. I said, well, you want to give me a record deal? They said, no, but we'd like to take your songs and give them to other singers. And so I wrote songs for artists, and I still do, in country music and in Christian music. But then 4 years later, I got a record deal. And I met my wife on the same day. She was working at the record label, so I got a record deal and a wife
and all in one
in the same day.
That's impressive.
That's a good day.
That's a great day.
And so that's kind of what's led me to where I am today now, writing songs and doing something that I'm really passionate about doing.
I love it. Okay, so how old were you then? Or what year was this? Can I date you for a second?
Yeah, so I'm 28 now, so that would be
just 4 years ago.
No, so I signed a record deal in 2004.
2004 was the first record deal.
It was my very first album came out.
Okay, so why Christian music? I'm just curious because when you do. Yeah, because I know you do some country, you said, for writing, but...
Yeah, it's funny, I've had I had a song on the radio that I wrote with a country artist, and it was a song about summertime. And it's a fun song, flip-flops and all that stuff. But I've never had somebody pull me aside and say, man, that song about putting your toes in the sand, that really changed my life. You know what I mean? And there's songs that serve different purposes. Some songs are, sitting on the dock of the bay makes you want to sit on the dock of the bay and enjoy summertime, right?
Yes.
And there's just been something that when you get a taste of doing something that feels like it could really make an impact in somebody's life, you want more of that. And so my friend Tom Douglas, who's one of the Hall of Fame songwriters in Nashville, he wrote The House That Built Me. And what he says is, he goes, you want to chase things that have an eternality to them. And what he's saying is, it's a fancy word for eternal value, And so writing songs that pour into people's stories and hopefully meet them at a broken place in their story, because we've all got some broken chapters and we don't know what to do with them.
Yep.
And I've seen over and over how God can speak through something as tiny as a little 3-minute song straight to the heart of somebody in a moment where they needed it the most. They rise up and they're able to find hope. And so ultimately, that's what fuels me. And no offense to songs about summertime, but I think if my whole career was just singing songs about summertime, I I might lose some steam on that dream. You know, what I feel like I've got inside me is something that's deeper than a dream. It feels like a calling, a mission, a purpose.
I love that. Okay, so speaking to that, because I'm like, yes, it's like your why. It's this huge why.
That's right.
Why you do the things you do. And I feel like in our culture in America, and we talk about money and stuff on this show a lot, and I'm like, yeah, we chase after this finish line. So a lot of people think, okay, well, if I can just have this level of fame, right? Or this level of money, or this level of stuff, everything's gonna be fulfilled. I'll be okay. And so from your experience, what would you say to the heart of that person? Because you're talking about a career, a successful career, but having a bigger why, and just speak to that importance of like the stuff on this earth just becomes a cycle.
Well, I think it was Abraham Lincoln who once said, more money, more problems. No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, I think if you don't, that was the dumbest thing I've ever said.
It was 100% Abraham Lincoln. I thought, is he getting confused with George Washington?
That's right.
More money, more problems.
Okay, so you're my fact checker.
It's for sure Abe.
You know, I think what you just said about having your why is so important, because if that's askew, if that's off in the wrong direction, then it'll never be enough. And if I'm being totally honest with you, I've had more days than I'd care to count where it hasn't been enough. And the reason is because my why was off in the wrong direction, right? And so you're always, as an artist, I mean, I always joke about like artists, it's really not a joke, but like we can be really fragile people. And one of the things that we get conditioned to do is you expect applause, right? Or that's like one of the results. And I fully expect you and anybody in the studio audience to be cheering after this interview. And if not, I'm completely crushed. No. But you know, I think that's one of the things that you can start to develop unhealthy ambitions, obviously. And with that can be money. And guess what? Even a Christian singer, this is a shocker, but even a Christian singer can start getting like off the point, you know, to where somebody invites you to come and do a concert. And obviously we got to be on top of our business. It's very important to me to make sure that financially I'm making wise choices for my family. I've got a bunch of employees. The year of 2020 is a year where I've had to reluctantly embrace my role as a CEO. I'd much rather be known as singer, songwriter, author, whatever. But this has been a year where I've got to embrace the role of CEO. And so I do think it's important, but I've had plenty of days where I've been off course. I look at a show and I go, well, how much does it pay? But then my home base, my firmer foundation is what kind of impact can be made. And so sometimes it's about taking the show that's not going to pay you a dime, because you know you're getting to walk inside the walls of a prison and something special is about to take place. And I'm not just creating a hypothetical. Those are moments in my life where I've seen God show up. The money wasn't there. The merchandise sales weren't there, but the eternality was there, and there is where I want to go.
As a mom, every day I take precautions to give my family peace of mind. It's simple things like locking the front door, making sure the car seats are buckled in, and putting my phone away when I'm driving. But we don't always think about the bigger things, like what if something happened to you or your spouse? That's why you need term life insurance. It makes sure your family's taken care of no matter what happens. I trust Xander Insurance. They keep my family protected, and that gives me such peace of mind. They make things super simple and find the best options and prices. To learn more, call Xander today or go to Xander.com. Make sure your family has the term life insurance they need. And it's the opportunities stuff in life, right? So whether you're on a stage or not, whether you're performing or you're not, but it's those day-to-day choices you make in your life to say, okay, God, put me in the places you want to put me, and let that mindset of those choices be that eternal, right? To look for that why. And that's what we talk about a lot on the show is people sacrifice to get out of debt, to do these things for their family so that they can have a solid foundation financially to build upon that, to become extremely generous. But if your only why to win with money is just to keep it all and just to spend it on yourself, it's a very empty life, but the same is true in everything. So you mentioned 2020, which I love talking to people about it because it's been a fascinating year. So how was that for you? Because I heard, we live in Nashville, so the music industry was hit extremely hard. There could be no shows or anything. So how was that for you?
Well, it's one of the reasons I'm here to do your show is because I need some financial counseling. I didn't know you were going to be asking me all the. I thought I was paying for a session.
Like, here's my budget.
I thought I was going to lay on this couch, and you're going to say, "So how did that make you feel when all of your revenue went out the door?" So I'm a little disappointed right now with how this is going.
The financial coach session.
That's what I was hoping. This is what I was. No, but full disclosure, it was a year of discouragement that could threaten to really cloud the hope that I know that I have, right? I know it's there. I have this hope as an anchor for my soul. My faith is the driving force of my life. All of those things I know.
Yeah.
And yet what I saw and what I was seeing in every direction was what appeared to be the absence of hope and the inability to provide for my employees and my team and learning how to apply for, federal aid, like all these crazy things and watching your guitar player who just had a baby girl we had like 85 concerts canceled. And so, he's having to go hang drywall. And, but one thing I will say about like the Nashville community, and I've always encouraged like my team, my employees, I always encourage my guitar player, you're not just a guitar player. And this is one thing that God's shown me, and I hope to show it to other people. And 2020 has been an amazing year in this respect, that I've been reminded that God is not a one-dimensional God, and neither are the things he creates. And so this has been a year for me of rediscovery, of kind of figuring out, wait a minute, my thinking can get so one-dimensional because I get approval in this one lane, but what if the best is still ahead of me? I'll tell you, a struggle for a recording artist is like, you feel like you have a shelf life, right? More so than others. Now we've already established I'm only 28, so I've got a long road ahead of me. But there's always in the back of your mind, you're like, when's that radio station gonna decide they've played enough Matthew West songs, right? And you can start to feel like, well, I got to get while the getting's good. Like this could end. And there's been a mentality for years, even people around you even financial advisors that'll make you feel like the sky is falling, right? And I think for me, this has been a season where I've begun to realize I am not one-dimensional because my creator is not. So what if the best is ahead of me? What if my season of impact in 20 years is greater than the season of impact that I've had when my music was front and center on the radio? And so I've tried to encourage my team with that as well. And those have been some thoughts that have helped me rise above the discouragement of watching my revenue do this. And yet what opportunities and dreams have been doing this in 2020, and that's been an exciting part of it. So it's been a weird mix of discouragement and hope rising up and renewed sense of creativity, and then also the responsibility of making sure that I'm providing for my family and my employees.
No, it's so good. And again, I think everything you just said, I'm like, you could put anyone else's life in that, but it's that level of hope. And it's that level of really understanding, controlling what you can control, right? Like there's things that were happening in 2020, like no one could control. We can't control this stuff. But man, there is a level of stuff that we kind of can and that we can embrace and that we can say, okay, God, where are you taking me in this journey? And having that level of abundance, that mindset is huge. But the hope, I think, is the big part. And people sadly have lost hope in so many areas of their life. And so just talk about like the eternal hope, like straight to it, Jesus. Like for you, obviously a big part of your story and your life and your career, but he plays a significant impact. And so I want to hear that from you.
Well, first of all, I know how important it is for you and how you encourage people to live a generous life. Like you just said moments ago, like the goal is not to get as much as you can, to keep as much as you can, because you and I both know, I think we both have the same compass, which is leading us to the reminder that this earth is not the final destination. Right. The last chapter of the book that I wrote, which my mother says is like, she literally says the Bible, Shakespeare, and then...
Oh, is it this?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you have that?
So if you don't have a Bible, go on Amazon, order a Bible, and then this needs to be in the cart with it. And your life will just be...
My mom, who's totally like bipartisan. She's
for sure,
unbiased.
not biased at all.
She says it's amazing. But the final chapter is called Life is an Airport. And I think it takes from an analogy from an old Tom Hanks movie called Terminal. And are you familiar with that movie?
Yes.
So this guy, Victor, comes from another country and he lands at JFK, and he's on a mission. And his home country breaks out in a war while he's traveling. And as a result, his visa gets denied. He gets stuck in some weird loophole, gets stuck in the JFK airport. Days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months. Victor finds a place to sleep. Victor finds friends, winds up playing poker with the janitors in the basement. Victor finds a job, winds up falling in love, has a love interest in the airport. He gets so comfortable in the airport that over time he made it his home and forgot he was actually on a mission. He was headed somewhere. And I watched that whole movie and I just literally saw my life on earth. My tendency to make sure that I'm so comfortable here in this earth, my sights get lowered and lowered and lowered, and I forget the reality that I'm going somewhere, that there's an eternity that waits for me, and all the money I'm making here, I'm not going to be able to take it with me. And so as far as the word hope, here's where my ultimate hopes comes from. I know that there's a God who made me. I know that I'm not the author of my story. He is. And I know that part of the story he's writing for me is a story that never ends, is that he's prepared a place for me, for those of us who've put our hope in God, that we have an eternal hope, as you said. And it's far beyond the temporary troubles of our day. And ultimately, in my most discouraging moments, when I stop long enough and say, okay, I'm going to take my eyes off my circumstances. I'm going to take my eyes off of this seemingly hopeless situation. Lord, remind me where my hope is. That's where my thoughts begin to wander. And in 2020, maybe now more than ever, 2020 has made me look up a lot more and go, okay, there's a better day that's coming where there's no COVID, right? There's no unemployment. There's no anxiety. There's no more fear, no more tears, no more tragedy, no more pain. Ultimately, that's where my hope comes from, because I know who the author of my story is, and I know that the story has no end.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And that's it, you guys. I mean, honestly, it's this point that, yeah, you can do things on earth well, do it responsibly, but at the end of the day, what is your life pointing towards? And with this show in context, like, what is your money pointing towards? What's the why of you wanting to win? And if it's just for you, you're falling short. And the richness you can live on this earth and beyond, it is. And so the fact that you travel and talk about this and embrace Jesus so much, I love it. And I'm so thankful for you and all your messaging and your songwriting. I mean, you have such a gift, and it's amazing. And
thank you. Thanks for having me today.
No, thanks. Okay, so book. It's like we have like the Matthew West store here. And it's
whole
great.
store.
Here it is. But the book, Hello, My Name Is, brand new, is the album.
Yeah.
When did this come out?
It came out right before the pandemic.
It was right before.
Brilliant marketing strategy. So it's the album that time forgot. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so it's still, it was ironic too. The album called Brand New was inspired by New Year's Eve, my wife and I watching the ball drop from home in Nashville. And I literally said to my wife, honey, I got a good feeling about 2020. Like, I feel like this is the year. And I'm going to call my album Brand New, because it's like a brand new year, brand new decade. We're new in Christ. And she's like, I love that. I'm like, I do too. And then we went to New York and celebrated the release of the album and did a special concert in New York City. And then like 2 weeks later, everybody started getting sick. And I was like, oh, that was terrible. It's brand new again.
It is. It's just constant. It's constant.
Yeah.
So good. Okay, and the podcast is out, which is so fun.
The Matthew West podcast.
Matthew West podcast.
And featuring very special guests such as
there's
Cruze.
some good ones. There's some good guests.
Dropping some major wisdom in that. Yeah.
It's been fun. Okay, so everywhere else, you're on social. Where else can everyone find you?
Just wherever you listen to music, you can find my music there. And MatthewWest.com is my website, which is the place where you can find all the things.
Everything you need right there.
Absolutely.
So great. Well, Matthew, thanks for being on.
Oh, I had a great time.
So great.